And now it gives me great pleasure to ask Marv Glusman to come to the podium and share some words of Torah with all of us.
Dear Mr. Glusman, let me be the first to welcome you to the wonderful world of ARP. Attached, you'll find your provisional membership card. Soon, the world of ARP benefits will be yours. I'm certain that almost everyone watching tonight received this letter. I got mine over 30 years ago. So like you, my sunset years began. I filled out the form. After all, who can resist the promise of discounted early bird dinners? But I have to admit, there was a sense of depression. After all, the anticipation and excitement of one's teenage years, going to college, marriage, raising children, was simply overwhelming and all-consuming. I guess I felt unprepared for this stage of life. Where do we learn how to grow older? Let's face it, there is a strain of popular American culture that identifies growing old with personal diminishment and decline. American life is lived in the future tense. Tomorrow is always superior to yesterday. Everything that's good in America is new and improved. Ever hear of a product guaranteed to make you look older in only minutes a day? This is the strain of American culture that defines growing older as an inevitable resignation to diminished capacity. But a generation that sees no possibilities in growing older is a generation with no future, a generation that is spiritually dead. In the Talmud's vision, life is not a tragedy of decline. Each stage of life has its own beauty, value, and measure of success. Growing older is not about surrendering the qualities that make us vital and beautiful. In each age of life, we gain something. Each stage of life brings new qualities, the very qualities we associate with God: learning, love, creativity, wisdom, and power. At each successive stage of life, we gain an opportunity to appropriate aspects of divinity. Growing older, we grow godly. In the Talmud, the development of the human being doesn't stop with the end of childhood. Grown-ups are meant to keep on growing. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, each decade brings its own qualities. We're not finished once we become adults. The object of childhood is literacy. The object of our 20s is intimacy. The object of our 30s is achievement. The objects of later adulthood, our 40s and 50s and beyond, are of a different order. Understanding, counsel, seniority, and wisdom. These are the qualities of inner life, qualities of the soul. When called upon by God to liberate his people, Moses complained, "I am no man of words." That's Exodus 4:10. That was at the beginning of his leadership role of our people. This week's Parshat, Devarim, Moses stands before his people, now 40 years older, with something to say. These are the words Moses addressed to all Israel. To reach old age is to acquire words, Devarim, moral substance, a life message. Among the many dimensions of successful aging, Dr. George Vaillant, in his book, Aging and Triumph of Experience, identifies two traits that are particularly relevant in the case of Moses. The first is what he calls generativity, namely taking care of the next generation. We can either stagnate or decide to give back to others, to community, society, and the next generation. Generativity is often marked by undertaking new projects, often voluntary ones, or by learning new skills. Its marks are openness and care. The other relevant dimension is what Dr. Valiant calls keeper of the meaning. By this he means the wisdom that comes with age, something that is often more valued by traditional societies than modern or postmodern ones. What is striking about the book of Devarim, set entirely in the last month of Moses' life, is how he shows the aged but still passionate and driven leader turning to the twin tasks of nurturing and guiding the younger generation and keeper of the meaning. It would have been very easy for him to retire into an inner world of reminiscence, recalling the achievements of an extraordinary life chosen by God to be the person who led an entire people from slavery to freedom to the brink of the promised land. Alternatively, he could have brooded on his failures, above all the fact that he would never physically enter the land to which he had spent 40 years leading the nation. There are people, we have all surely met them, who are haunted by the sense that they have not won the recognition they deserved or achieved the success of which they dreamed when they were young. Moses did neither of these things. Instead, in his last days, he turned his attention to the next generation and embarked on a new role. No longer Moses the liberator and lawgiver, he took on the task for which he has become known to tradition, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. It was in some ways his greatest achievement. In her book, Getting Good at Getting Older, Rabbi Laura Geller, who was here in December, says increasing longevity has sparked a revolution that is altering every aspect of human experience, and we're just beginning to understand its implications. Longer lives offer more years of learning, work, intimacy, and involvement that can change families and communities in breathtaking ways. Of course, age brings its health and financial challenges, but these extra years and new opportunities deserve celebration. They offer great possibilities that are not yet fully appreciated. How can we realize the potential of this new stage? What can we do to add more meaning and purpose to a longer life? End quote. This is the Jewish truth of adulthood. Our importance is measured not by the power and prestige we accumulate, but by the larger purposes we serve. Life is validated by its message, its Torah, a Torah that can grow so much deeper as we grow older. Moses teaches us that love and faith ultimately must express themselves in a commitment to one's fellow human beings and to all living things. Faith in God as creator and as lawgiver implies a dedication to God's creation and to justice. Moses exemplified the capacity for empathy and the courage to transform the world. He worked against the injustices he saw and created a framework in which his descendants could continue to walk in his footsteps by applying his insights beyond the limits of his own vision. There's something moving about seeing Moses at almost 120, looking forward as well as back, sharing his wisdom with the young, teaching us that while the body may age, the spirit can stay young until 120 if we keep our ideals, give back to the community, and share our wisdom with those who will come after us, inspiring them to continue what we could not complete. And I will end with a quote from Confucius. If you think in terms of a year, plant a seed. If in terms of 10 years, plant trees. If in terms of 100 years, teach the people. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.